honk, hee honk. Yo, what's going on here at Clash Call? Welcome back to a brand new Intel video. Yes, I received a lot of y'all's messages like, yo, Trin, did you see the new hero tier list? The whole nine. I'm like, let's take a look. I'll be giving my own professional opinion on what I think about it. Some of you messaged me and don't like it. Some of y'all do like it. So with that being said, let's deep dive into the hero tier list created by the Hero Clash moderation team. So first things first, before we even start with S plus all the way down to F, or F all the way up to S plus, I have to say this. You have to read what everything says at the bottom of the post before you can actually judge. In my personal opinion, I think you can't judge until you actually own the hero, but that's just me, okay? So with that being said, here we go. As you can see, there are numbers on every single hero. Long story short, it just means how easy or difficult it is to obtain, okay? Which we're not going to go over that, whatever. Now, when it comes to the tier explanation, that's what we are looking for, okay? Now, before we get started, I think what should be done is there should be a PvP one and then a PvE one, because it's very, very easy to have a hero that's really good in PvP, but just absolutely sucks in PvE and vice versa. And so in the future, I'll be creating my own tier list where I actually keep them separate, because combining them together, people just get confused and then you just have way too many perspectives that can or cannot be correct, and you just get into an echo chamber of just tier list. So with that being said, starting with the letter F, we have is what heroes are those? That's in the game? Who is that? That is Aaron the werewolf and the chick with the big pink hand. Letter F stands for not worth upgrading. Hey man, I disagree 100%. I think this should be letter F, but I think letter F should stand for only worth upgrading at the very end. You have nothing else to do. Now, they are terrible heroes. However, when you do get them maxed out, you are able to use the extra pieces you get from them, their S heroes, to use in the dismantle shop, just saying. And that is actually very, very clutch in the game. Now, moving on to E, we have as a Scarecrow, we have Punching Guy, wanna trade punches with me? We have Edric, poke, poke, poke. And then we have Renika, and then we have Killmane, whatever her name is. And letter E says mostly useful for new players. And I completely agree. I think that's actually phenomenal because, yeah, in the beginning, you can throw out almost anything and have a 90, 95, 99% chance of winning in the very beginning. It's pretty much the equivalent of Skyland level 1, where you can throw out anything and probably get the dub. There's a very small possibility you can lose if you just choose the exact correct or wrong heroes, but I think this is pretty accurate so far. Now, moving on to letter D, we have is the Sickle, Nocturne. Then we have Roger, the shark. Then we have Leos, the unicorn. And we have Firefly. Then we have Reyna. And then Earl, which is the werewolf. He's absolutely atrocious. Honestly, he should be probably an F. And then we have the dude, stay true to your faith. And then we have the Toad, which letter D stands for may be useful for some stages and situations, and I'd agree, hands down. I really think letter D is pretty accurate. And then we're going to go to C, where we start to get into some disagreements. Now, C stands for good/okay heroes, and we have, dude, the Garuda or whatever his name is, and then we have the guy with the cross thingy. I think he's atrocious. I don't think he's a good okay hero. I think he should be down in the DEF section somewhere. And then we have Marissa with the little sniper pistol. And moving on, we have Dream, letter C. Remember, good/okay heroes, and they're mainly focused on PvE and PvE modes. And I'll be honest, PvE, she's not good at all. Now, PvP, you can make her absolutely phenomenal with the correct artifacts, with the correct runes, etc. I can make her where she could defeat any hero one-on-one, any offensive hero one-on-one, which I do, and people fear the Dream. They should call her the Nightmare. But that's not the perspective of the moderation team. Now they have the Pokeball dude, which I do believe he's good / okay. Then you have the Sheep, which I think she should be higher than letter C, just because one of her abilities is to, when she drops below 50% health, she's able to stun the whole enemy team with a 50% chance. I don't know about you, but you're taking a 50% chance of getting stunned for one turn. Then after that, you're getting a 25% chance to get stunned a second turn, and that's extremely OP, just knocking her HP down to 50%. So I think she's more than good / okay. Now, from a PvP perspective, yes. From a PvE perspective, I would say yes, because when it comes to a lot of PvE modes, especially like Proving Grounds, debuff is king. It is. If you debuff the enemy team, if you CC them, stun, petrify, charm, entangle, etc., then you have a high probability of winning, because they're just 2 turns. So I think she should be higher. Now, when it comes to Nicole, I think she should also be higher as a defensive support hero, because she's really good in the beginning and middle era of Hero Clash. And yeah. Now, moving on to letter B, we have is strong heroes allow players to create game-changing strategies. I think B and C should be combined together, so it should just be BC, because there's a lot of heroes in the C that should be in B, and there's a lot of heroes in B that should be in C. I think B and C should be the same, in my personal opinion. But moving on, we have letter B, we have is Avilia, which...
From a PvE perspective, I definitely agree with letter B, but from a PvP perspective, she's extremely OP, getting her attack up over allies and getting their speed up, and speed is almost king when it comes to PvP modes, just saying. So with this tier list, I would put her in letter B for PvE, and I'd probably slap her in letter A for PvP.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Andal, Avilia, Mafalda, that new chick, the other new chick, Denise... Merciful Tree Spirit, Callisto, what's her name? She charms with the snake. Drawing a blank. Then you have Goddess of Life, and then you have Andrew, and then you have the Octopus, and then you have... Who the heck is that? Oh, yeah, it's the Nightfall chick, and she's alright. And then you have Chakis. I actually do think this is actually pretty accurate. Yeah, I think it's pretty accurate for letter B. And the letter A we have is very strong / strategic heroes worth building for late game. Now A we have is the new heroes. Now we have the top 2 new heroes, which they're honestly out in the future for a defensive type strategy. They're going to be like an S tier, but that's from a defensive perspective, right? And then you have Dragonic, Fagin, Geos, the horse chick, and then they put Natalie in A. Then they have Wanderer. Then they have Leylandra, which I would not put Leylandra and Natalie in the same category. That's disrespectful. It really is.
Yeah, good old Natalie. I read the comments, and a lot of people were actually pretty upset about this one. And putting her in the A category is, I think it is what it is. Now, from a PvE perspective, I could understand she's really not that good for PvE. You can make her good, but she just doesn't perform as well as other heroes like Sparta, Olila, Sophia, Elvira's in PvE. Now, when it comes to PvP, that's a whole different ballpark. I would 100% slap her in the S category, because there's only a few heroes that can actually counter Natalie that are set up correctly. One would be Olila, 2 would be the Phoenix / Sophia combo if it's set up correctly. However, all these heroes I just mentioned take forever to build or cost money to build, so your average player won't have access to these heroes. And yes, if you do not have any of these heroes I mentioned, you are the snowman, which means they're going to get slapped by Natalie. Just saying.
And then they have Avi, and then they have Ocean Princess, along with the 2 Voiders. That's Catherine and I think Mize, I think her name is. And then they have the Entanglement chick, which is Silsa. And then they have Crystal. Yeah, Crystal. I remember that. Holy moly. I disagree. I would disagree with some of these. I think Natalie is worth building in the beginning / middle of your Hero Clash journey, because the meta has changed 100%. Like, Phoenix is out and new heroes are in, like Olila, Natalie, and you know, Sophia, and, you know, the Phoenix had her chance to shine. She did for almost a year, and now it's time for a new hero to step up and redo everything all over again, right? So moving on to S, we have is dominate current PvP and or incredibly useful for boss mode. See, now we're starting, like, now we're going back to the whole mixing PvP, PvE, and like I said, overall this is a good list, but it's very, very easy to argue in a correct way or a wrong way, depending on your perspective, because everyone can be right, you know? So that's why I think it's very, very pertinent to separate PvP and PvE. But anyways, moving on to S, we have is dominate current PvP and or incredibly useful for boss mode. And then they have the Phoenix, which is, I agree. Then you have Sophia, 100%, baby, woo! And then we have Sparta, which was very, very interesting, which I think he should be in the S+ tier, especially for PvE. He is an absolute monster, a beast in PvE. Now, when it comes to PvP, I would give him the S tier for PvP. He's not the greatest, but he's not weak at all. If you set him up correctly, he absolutely slaps, especially if you have assault runes, I'm just saying. And moving on, we have his good old Thunder. I think he's slept on. I really do think he's slept on. And if you get his debuff hit extremely high, maxed out, level 40 gear skill, you're stunning the whole team. And he is absolutely phenomenal. I would give him an S+ tier for PvE mode, especially like Proving Grounds, because you're just consistently stunning majority of the enemy team. And it all comes down to just your team executing and getting enough damage to get that dub in PvE. Now, when it comes to PvP, it's a little different. He doesn't really hit that hard. Now, I do plan on building a offensive version of him to see how he, you know, acts and reacts against, you know, other heroes from an offensive perspective, but that's coming later on in the future. Now, moving on to Alvarez being S tier, I agree, beginning to middle. I think she's absolutely phenomenal, but towards the end of Hero Clash, towards the end of your journey, or towards, not really the end, but towards like that 1 year mark, you see that she slowly just works her way down into the darkness. Now you have the twins in S hero, or excuse me, in the S tier you have the twins, which I completely agree, absolutely phenomenal. And then you have Selena. Honestly, I would put Selena up in the S+ category as well, because she is crucial. She is a necessity when it comes to the future of Hero Clash. With that soul connection, that soul link, you know, you're absorbing one main attack and getting HP back. It's absolutely crucial in PvE and absolutely crucial in PvP. So I would actually put her in the S+ tier from a defensive perspective in PvP and PvE. Moving on to Souls. I think Souls, he's not bad, but I would say he's very limited, so I could see him actually being in the A category. Yes, I would put him in the A category. And yeah, moving on to the S+ tier, they only have 2 heroes. They have is Reincarnation and Olila. Olila, 100% yes, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, PvE Olila, yes. PvP Olila, yes. Moving on to Reincarnation, PvP, absolutely not. I think she's absolutely freaking atrocious in PvP, especially if you see her coming. You know, she's extremely easy to counter. It's like the equivalent of putting a candle next to a tidal wave. Like, clearly that flame is not going to make it. So for Reincarnation, for PvP mode, I'd probably give her an A tier. You could argue S tier, but I would slap her in the A tier. But for PvE, 100% S+ tier. I think she should be up there right next to Sparta in the S+ tier. So overall, I think this is actually a really good tier list. And my only gripe would simply just, I would recommend just splitting PvP and PvE perspectives and have 2 of them, so then people can focus on specific perspectives instead of having just everything out there in one. But shout out to the moderation team. I think this is highly accurate, and I will see y'all in the next video. Greatness, man. Mythic Plus Elite.